this conversation, we're joined by the Electoral Commission Acting Spokesperson Paul Bukenya. Good evening and welcome to NTV Tonight, Paul.
Good evening.
We'll start off with why the delay in issuing the dates and the guidelines, because this is something that we have been waiting for a while. A number of politicians.
No delay. We indicated that we will progressively, launch out the roadmap activities. There was no delay at all. We were just being consistent with what is required of us in law. You first do the nominations. After the nominations, then you issue the campaigns. You cannot talk about campaigns, although we gave a picture that there certainly be campaigns. But you cannot issue the campaign programs when you've not nominated candidates. So similarly, you cannot issue the polling dates when you've not concluded nominations. So I think there was a fear possibly that, and a lot of speculation around that, which was not necessary. By law, we only issue a campaign program and polling dates after we've nominated candidates.
Okay. Well, taking a look at the guidelines, we'll start off with one in which the politicians have a particular time in which they can campaign, between 7 a.m. and 6 p.m.
Sure.
But we also take a look at the fact that there is a virtual kind of campaign. So what happens, are we saying that if one is hosted on a radio show or a television show after 6 p.m. or perhaps even a Facebook Live kind of conversation, is that illegal?
It's not illegal. Campaigns by law take place between 7 a.m. in the morning and do not go beyond 6. And that particularly refers to, the meetings where you physically come together. Of course, even radios are affected by that. But now with the new environment in which we are, there's a whole, way of approaching these. That's why we harmonize, we call it harmonizing programs. Do you have a radio program you're going to attend to? Is there a radio station in your district? What hours do they do the talk shows? We know that most talk shows, the prime time is 7 to 9 o'clock, or maybe 7 to 8. And there are some shows which go beyond. I'm leaving this place for a show that goes beyond. So that's why we harmonize talk shows, or rather programs, and then we know and we can issue clearance to that effect. We've guided in we've mentioned that in the guidelines that it's going to be important for you to sit with our returning officer and indicate how you're going to campaign, so that we harmonize it. Then that's when we consider such programs that go beyond 6 p.m.
Okay, well, that brings in the question of fairness. The returning officers being the ones that will decide that perhaps, yes, you can be able to go to this radio station after 6 p.m. The opposition, we have seen in just the recent weeks that in some areas, even the National Unity Platform has said that the politicians there, in one way or another, blocked from actually going on air. So the fairness there as we get into this campaign area.
Yeah, I don't know about that particular incident, but of course the campaigns have not started. So I would as well wish to know more about that. Is it under a harmonized program? Otherwise, now that we have candidates, they're directly the responsibility of the Electoral Commission. That brings them under the authority of the returning officer. So I think the question of fairness is answered, because that officer is supposed to be impartial. So I think what is required is the nominated candidates to come down and say to the returning officer, this is my schedule, this is our plan to move, and then it is coordinated. We can end up at the same station, 2 candidates, same time, and then there's a clash. So that's why we do what we call harmonization, and it enables smooth conduct of campaigns, including radio campaigns. We've provided comprehensive guidelines which show that even when you use what we call community radios, Bizindalo, it still needs to be coordinated. It's not just about making noise the whole day through the town, because there are rules that govern noise pollution, you know that. So it's a whole new approach, but we need to do it because there's COVID in our midst.
Okay. Well, another is now taking it to the voting day. A thing that has been raised is the fact that, well, we're seeing that the members of parliament might be voted a different day from the presidential candidates. Let's talk about that. And the issues that have been raised around that.
Like we've mentioned, we cannot talk about presidential elections. In the case of today, we do not even have presidential candidates. So we cannot start talking about a campaign period for candidates who are not there. I think in accordance with the Presidential Elections Act, the Commission sets the campaign period, and for that matter, it ends with the polling day after the nomination of candidates. I think the Ugandans should wait for that to come in, just like they waited. We did not announce the campaign period and polling dates for local government and member of parliament until after we had concluded their nominations. Similarly, that's what we will do when it comes to presidential. Okay. So we just call for calm. There's no need to speculate and to go around it. When we conduct the nomination of presidential candidates, we will give them their guidelines and we'll give them the campaign period, because that is a power that is given to the Electoral Commission.
Okay, and lastly, with the powers that the Electoral Commission has, wondering why the elections are being moved from usually what has been February to January now.
There was a change in the law, electoral law, which moved the period within which we conduct elections from the first 30 days of the last 90 days to the first 30 days of the last 122 days. This was a review of the law. Otherwise, if you're familiar and remember well, we used to have elections between February and March. So given the term of office ends on 12th May, and when you count the 122 days, they come up to January 10th. The first 30 days of the last 122 days is between January 10th and February 8th. So they're bringing everything, you know, into January is a result of the change in the law, and that's what we are doing. And it reflects what is required of us in the law to conduct elections in the first 30 days of the last 122 days. Okay,
well, thank you so much, Paul Bukenya, for joining us on NTV tonight. He is the Electoral Commission acting spokesperson. We're having a conversation about the announcement today about the campaign guidelines and the dates. Now.